Early signing day has become a huge part of college football, and it seems like more players are flipping from schools than ever before. I have no clue what is going on in the water, but it feels like every 5 minutes a recruit is changing his commitment, and maybe it's partially because of the portal, partially because of coaching hires, and maybe kids just aren't as committed as they used to be. But either way, there are tons of big time recruits who decide to flip today, and today I want to talk about 25 of them. People like to call this Merry Flipmas, so we're going to go through 25 different recruits who have flipped their school and talk about who they are. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's go ahead and get started and talk about these players who have flipped schools. Alright, so the first player we're going to talk about is Brian Williams Jr. He comes out of First Academy High School, which is located in Orlando, Florida, and he's currently listed as the number 149 receiver in the nation and is ranked just outside of the top 1,000. You might think this guy is some sort of slouch, but his offer list includes schools such as Auburn, Alabama, Florida, and Penn State. Williams Jr. was originally committed to Bama, but decided to flip to Alex Golesh in Auburn. Williams ended up catching 34 passes for 555 yards and 7 touchdowns after having 5 touchdowns last year. This is a big get for Golesh. The second guy we're to talk about is an Indiana kid by the name of Jet Goldsberry. He is one of the best names in the 2026 class, and he's also a special player. He's currently listed as the number 26 athlete and a top 500 recruit in the nation. He had offers from schools such as North Carolina, Wake Forest, West Virginia, and Ole Miss, and he originally decided to commit to the Ole Miss Rebels, but after the coaching switch, it seems he ended up deciding to go somewhere else, as he is now flipped to Barry Odom in Purdue. This is a huge get for them, as they've honestly just been lacking star talent. He ended up playing quarterback for Heritage Hills, throwing for 2,000 yards, and also rushing for nearly 1,400 yards and 56 total touchdowns. These are the kind of athletes that Barry Odom needs to get if Purdue ever wants to be decent again. The third player we're going to talk about is Carter Gooden. Gooden is a 4-star recruit in the class of 2026, and coming out of Tabor Academy in Massachusetts, he was listed as the number 17 edge rusher and the 147th best player nationally. After originally committing to UCLA, it looks like Gooden has now flipped. He'll be going over to Tennessee, who can always use big-time linemen in the SEC. Yesterday, we witnessed one of the biggest flips in recruiting history as Jared Curtis decided to go from Georgia to Vanderbilt. The Commodores have made themselves much better under Clark Lee, and the number 1 quarterback in the nation has now decided to go to Vandy. He goes to Nashville Christian School, which is obviously located in Nashville, Tennessee, and after originally being committed to Georgia, Curtis is now going to Vandy. He ended up throwing for about 8,000 yards and just under 100 touchdowns during his career, and Curtis is the exact type of player that Clark Lee needs to keep the Commodores going in the right direction. Our fifth guy is one of many players who have decided to flip to Virginia Tech ever since James Franklin arrived. This time it is Terry Wiggins, as coming out of Coatesville Area High School in Pennsylvania, Wiggins is considered the number 8 linebacker and the 120th best player nationally. He had a full offer sheet, and after originally deciding to commit to Penn State, he will now flip to Virginia Tech. He had been committed to the Nittany Lions since May 2nd, but obviously he wanted to follow his coach to Blacksburg, and the cupboard is bare in State College right now. Our next player is going to be Deron Parks, who comes out of Nitro High School in West Virginia. West Virginia is not the first school I think about when it comes to big-time talent, but he's considered a top 500 level prospect, the number 34 interior offensive lineman, and the number 1 player in the state of West Virginia. Parks had offers from schools such as UNC, Ohio State, Kentucky, and Florida State, and after originally committing to the Seminoles, he is now going to flip to UNC and head coach Bill Belichick. At 6'5" and 310 pounds, Parks looks like he's going to be a big factor and will definitely help get UNC back on track. One of the most notable flips of the day so far has been Caden Gebhart, as he will go from Clemson to Ohio State. It seemed like he was pretty much a lock to stay with the Tigers, but Gebhart would decide to flip to Ohio State as of this afternoon. He's definitely a super exciting player, as he comes out of Olatanji High School, the same place where Ethan Grunkemeyer played, and over 4 years, he had over 400 tackles and 11 interceptions. Gebhart is considered a 4-star recruit and the number 25 safety according to 24/7 Sports, and this is a huge get for Ohio State to keep a talented kid like him at home. Moving over a state to Pennsylvania, we need to talk about safety Matt Sieg. He's considered a top 200 player nationally and the number 16 safety in the country, and Sieg had offers from schools such as Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, Pittsburgh, Indiana, and West Virginia. After originally being committed to Penn State, he would decide to reopen his recruitment after James Franklin and will now end up at West Virginia, where it seems like they're starting to build a special class. Rich Rodriguez ended up getting a very talented player, as he had nearly 2,300 all-purpose yards and 30 touchdowns, and on defense, he had 40 tackles, 4 interceptions, and 2 pick sixes. He's a special player and is really going to help out the Mountaineers moving forwards. Moving on, we have to talk about Micah Nickerson, who decided to flip from Mizzou to Mississippi State. As a Mizzou fan, this is definitely a tough blow for us, but the Bulldogs will be getting a super talented player as he comes out of South Pike High School and will stay in the state of Mississippi. He's considered the number 29 edge rusher and the 286th best player in the country, and it was for good reason. He had 59 tackles, 19 TFLs, and 10 sacks, while also catching 5 touchdowns on offense. He was originally from the Columbia, Missouri area, but he ended up moving to Mississippi, and I'm sure that's part of the reason why he decided to go to Mississippi State. Getting to one of our first wide receivers on the list, we have to talk about Caden Dixon Wyatt. USC currently has the number 1 recruiting class in the country, and Dixon Wyatt was a huge flip for them. He's considered the number 21 wide receiver and the 135th best player nationally, while 24/7 Sports is a bit higher on him. He goes to Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana and had a full offer sheet from every school in the nation. After originally committing to Ohio State, it seems he decided to open things up, and with Brian Hartline leaving, that might have been the nail in the coffin. I do wonder with Hartline leaving how it affects Ohio State, and USC is also really starting to do well at developing wide receiver talent. One of the more underrated flips of the day is going to be Rise Brush, who ended up deciding to go from USF to Auburn. We all know why that's happening, as Golesh obviously is leaving USF for Auburn, but this is a very underrated signee, as he's listed as the number 75 quarterback and the 1,411th best player in the country. Auburn was by far his best offer, but he's a good player. He had 2,500 yards and 37 touchdowns compared to just 2 interceptions, and he also is a dual threat, having over 400 yards and 9 touchdowns on the ground. Golesh has been able to develop quarterback talent everywhere he has gone, so Brush is definitely a big addition for them. Next wide receiver that we need to talk about is Corey Barber. He's been a name that has been on flip watch for quite some time now, as he decided to open things up after Lane Kiffin left. It's no shock that he decided to move from Ole Miss to LSU, and he's listed as the number 20 wide receiver and the 144th player nationally, coming out of Clay Chalkville High School in Pinson, Alabama. That seems to be a high school that produces a lot of big-time talent, and Barber is just the next in line. A crazy junior season in which he had over 70 catches for 1,500 yards and 20 touchdowns, and also became a track and field star. This is a great athlete for Lane Kiffin to get at LSU, and he is someone that I'm super excited to watch. We have another SEC to SEC flip, as we need to talk about Tyreek Jamison. He comes out of Paulding County High School in Georgia, and he's considered the number 17 interior offensive lineman in the country and the 238th best player nationally. He had offers from schools such as Georgia, Kentucky, Georgia Tech, NC State, and North Carolina, but after being committed to the Wildcats for quite some time, he would decide to flip to the Georgia Bulldogs, and the 6'5", 325-pound lineman will stay home and play for Kirby Smart, and this is a huge addition for him, and Georgia continues to build depth in the trenches. We now have another wide receiver who made a crazy flip, and that is Jordan Clay. He comes out of San Antonio Madison High School, and Clay is listed as the number 28 wide receiver and the 173rd overall player in the class of 2026. With offers from schools such as Oklahoma, Baylor, Colorado, Arizona State, and Washington, Jordan Clay could pretty much go anywhere, and he would originally decide to sign with Baylor. Following in what has been a recent trend, Baylor keeps losing their big commits, and now Jordan Clay will go to Washington. It seems the Huskies are starting to build a pipeline at the wide receiver spot, and you'll follow in the footsteps of guys like Rome Odunze, Jordan McMillan, Jalen Polk, and now Denzel Boston. The Texas Longhorns got another huge addition in their recruiting class as Teray Davis decided to commit to them. He's considered the number 18 athlete and a top 300 player in the class of 2026, and coming out of Fairview High School in Boulder, he's one of the top players in the state as well. He'd offer from schools such as K-State, Utah, Wisconsin, Washington, and Texas, and he would originally decide to commit to UCLA. This was a huge get for head coach Deshaun Foster, but after they've decided to move forward with Bob Chesney, it seems like Davis is going to move in a new direction, and he will now sign with the Texas Longhorns. He ended up having 51 carries for 428 yards and 6 touchdowns, 37 catches for nearly 800 yards and 11 touchdowns, and then 49 tackles, 3 forced fumbles, and he returned kicks. He's pretty much a do-it-all player and a big get for Steve Sarkisian. Sometimes in Flipmas, you gain some and you lose some, as Texas would end up losing their player in Corey Wells. Wells was the number 31 defensive lineman in the country, and he comes out of Petal High School located in Petal, Mississippi. After originally committing to the Longhorns, he also had offers from Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Florida, but Alex Golesh decided to work some magic and got Wells to flip to the Tigers. This is pretty big for them, and they're going to get another big-time edge rusher to help replace a guy like Keldrick Falk. Our next flip at the running back position is going to be Caden Jones. After originally committing to the Kansas Jayhawks, Caden Jones has decided to flip to Oklahoma State and will play for new head coach Eric Morris. Coming out of Jenks High School in Oklahoma, he's considered a top 500 player and the 33rd best running back in the country. He also had offers from schools such as Alabama and Arkansas, but as I said, he flipped from Kansas to Oklahoma State. This is a big get for them, as Oklahoma State desperately needs an influx of talent, and he had over 7,000 all-purpose yards in his career. Up next, we have another player who decided to flip from UCLA, and that is Micah Smith. Coming out of Vero Beach High School, he's considered the number 14 interior offensive lineman and the 234th best player nationally. Smith had offers to schools such as Alabama, UCLA, Ohio State, and Tennessee, but after originally committing to the Bruins, Smith would flip to Illinois, and he will hope to anchor another good Brett Bielema offensive line, who's been really good in recent memory. Up next, we have another wide receiver in Owen Cable, I hope I said that right, and he's considered a huge get for the Commodores. He comes out of Christ Presbyterian Academy in Nashville, Tennessee, and he's considered a top 700 player in the class and the number 87 wide receiver in the nation. He originally decided to commit to Alabama over offers from Illinois, Arkansas, and Boston College, but after the Jared Curtis news, he has decided to flip from Alabama to Vanderbilt. This is a huge get for the Commodores, as he is a speedster. He sort of reminds me a bit of London Humphreys, and hopefully he can turn into a player like that. Our next player is someone on the defensive line, and that is Vodney Cleveland. He's considered the number 28 defensive lineman and the 243rd best player in the country, and coming out of Parker High School, he had offers from Texas, Georgia, Florida, and Auburn, but would originally decide to commit to the Longhorns. This was a huge get for Sark, who was trying to continue to build on the offensive and defensive lines, but as time has now gone on, he has decided to flip, and now he will go to UNC. Bill Belichick is starting to recruit a lot better, and we'll probably see him make an early impact there. Mississippi State pulls off another flip, as they would end up getting Tico Crittenden from Lithonia High School in Georgia. He definitely is one of the best names so far, and he is considered a top 500 recruit and the number 54 defensive lineman in the nation. He had offers from schools such as Georgia Tech, Florida State, Texas Tech, and Georgia, and after originally committing to Florida State, he will now head to Mississippi State and will help Jeff Lebby a lot. He ended up having 66 total tackles last year, and this guy is the real deal. Up next, we'll talk about another player who flipped to Virginia Tech, this time in John Patrick Otis. He comes out of LaSalle College High School in the state of Pennsylvania, and after getting offers from Temple, Eastern Michigan, and Old Dominion, he would decide to commit to James Madison. This was obviously a pretty decent offer for him, and he blew up into a top 1,000 recruit and the number 51 athlete in the country. Otis ended up getting a late offer from Virginia Tech, and he will now flip from JMU over to the Hokies. We now get our second LSU flip wide receiver on the list, and that is going to be Braden Allen. Coming out of Lafayette Christian Academy in Lafayette, Louisiana, Allen is considered a 4-star recruit, the number 60 wide receiver, and the 420th player nationally. Allen was originally committed to the Oklahoma Sooners, but has now decided to go join Lane Kiffin down in Baton Rouge. We've got two more flips to talk about, and the first one is running back Amari Latimer. He comes out of Sandy Creek High School in Georgia, and this is a death blow to Wisconsin's recruiting class. Latimer is considered the number 19 running back and a top 300 player in the class of 2026. After having offers from schools such as Tennessee, Ohio State, and Arizona, he would decide to go to Wisconsin, and now all of a sudden they are going to lose him. He was supposed to be one of the gems of the Wisconsin recruiting class. In over 3 years, Latimer rushed for just under 5,000 yards and 74 touchdowns. He will now flip to Rich Rodriguez at West Virginia, and they continue their momentum on the recruiting trail. And finally, last but not least, our last flip we're going to talk about today is wide receiver Jamison Powell. He's the number 103 wide receiver in the class of 2026, and he comes out of Folsom High School in California. This school also produces a ton of talent. After originally getting offers from Ole Miss, Arizona, Arkansas, and Boston College, he would decide to commit to the Ole Miss Rebels and Lane Kiffin. Unfortunately, as we all know, he would then leave for LSU, and Powell would decide to reopen his recruitment. After some strong consideration, he will now head to play for Jamarcus Shepard at Oregon State, and I bet he will see early playing time for the Beavers. It's a huge get for them. So yeah, today we talked about 25 players who ended up flipping on early signing day, and it is a special treat to watch all of this. A lot of these guys are going to be big names at these schools, and what do you guys think? What do you think of these players? Who's another guy who should be in part 2? And what other topic should I cover next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out some of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.